Welcome to the Car Guys, and this week, after a phenomenal response to our fastest depreciating supercars episode, today we're looking at the terrifying world of the fastest depreciating luxury cars. And it's going to get messy.
How much money will you lose if you buy a brand new Mercedes S-Class, Rolls-Royce or Bentley? How do supercar saloons perform versus SUVs? And do any of these behemoths actually appreciate instead of just losing tons and tons of cash?
By the end of this episode, you will know.
And of course, you'll find out which brands are the worst depreciators, which might make you think twice before buying a car in the future.
So if that sounds like your special kind of depreciating vodka, let's get on with it. A quick primer on what depreciation actually is.
Basically, it's the amount of value a car loses compared to its full purchase price the moment you drive out of a showroom. And depreciation is caused by a number of factors.
The demand for that vehicle,
The supply and how many are available to buy,
the brand equity of that manufacturer,
costs to run,
its reputation,
and what the motor trade thinks it's worth.
Remember, almost all cars depreciate. They are all special in that regard. But as George Orwell himself wrote, some are more special than others.
Yes, they are. But when buying a new car, it's surprising how its level of depreciation is often overlooked. It's the desire to be the first owner of something new and shiny. Depreciation is ignored in a purchase decision making. Certainly I never think about it. For more upfront immediate things like how much does it cost to fill up, how much does it cost to insure, what are the costs of parts and labour and servicing and all those other really boring things.
But frankly, all those costs are trivial compared to the lump hammer that is initial depreciation.
When assessing the luxury sector, there are some parameters we use for this analysis.
The value range, we've gone for between 80,000 and 380,000.
UK pricing for 2022, which ignores dealer markup effect in some of the USA.
We've also included a year one figure and also a figure for years 2 to 3 to give a slightly more rounded view.
And finally, we're basing our percentages not on the basic price, but with the cost of the car and suitable options.
That's the important bit. This means that any of you just typing the MSRP into a calculator will get a different result to us. But if you think about it, options are a fact of life, and very few luxury cars leave the showroom without a stack of expensive options, which means it's the true amount that you pay for the car.
We very much wanted to include luxury saloons from Lexus and Genesis, but sadly we don't have enough brand data or sales information to make that viable.
Okay, so we've set the ground rules. You know what we're talking about when it comes to depreciation. Let's do this.
Boom. Right then, let's get stuck in. 17 luxury cars on our list, spread across 8 manufacturers. All household names are here, but what are the numbers?
And surprisingly, for the luxury sector, the first 4 vehicles that we looked at actually appreciate in the first year.
It isn't so.
It is so.
Okay.
The numbers do not lie.
Yeah, well, some people think they do.
At number 17 on the list, we have the Mercedes G-Wagen, specifically the G63. Now this is a whole phenomenon. There's a strange ecosystem, a bubble about G-Wagons that just mean they're always very expensive to buy and always cost a lot more to buy used. People really love them, particularly since the new facelift model where they improved the interior and actually the way it drives. But G-Wagons, there's just something weird about G-Wagons.
I don't understand it. I mean, it's basically a farm vehicle.
And hinges on the outside.
Why would you have hinges on the outside of a car? This is not the 1920s. People absolutely love them.
And here's a secret, ladies and gentlemen. I love them too.
It's wrong. They're boxy but not good.
In year one, your G63 G-Wagon actually increases value by 11.5%, and that's on a optioned vehicle. Now admittedly, there aren't a huge number of options that you can tick on a G-Wagon, but that's still a massively and mightily impressive performance from essentially a luxury military
I was
SUV.
going to say, it's not luxury, it's a military car.
Now the new one's quite luxurious inside. I mean, it is much better.
A soft leather in there doesn't make it a luxury car. Come on, people, Jesus.
I mean, year 2 and 3, yeah, you get about 22% depreciation on there. So it kind of adjusts itself after that initial sort of buzz and people absolutely wanting them. But still, when you're talking about a car which is, you know, new, optioned up, nearly 200,000 quid, that's pretty impressive.
Now, in at number 16, this is a complete shock to me. I have no idea how this car, another vehicle that goes up in value, if you're lucky enough to get on the list.
I think it's a freak. This is a freak occurrence.
It's got to be.
And it's because it's new and also, yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
Audi RS Q8. I do not understand how, in year 1, this car appreciates by 10%.
Yeah, it's because
You can't get them.
everyone wants them and you can't get them. Remember, folks, this is a Lamborghini Urus in a different name, and the Lamborghini Urus is famously in high demand. And at number 15, everyone thought when this company launched this model that they were going to plummet. We are, of course, talking about the Lamborghini Urus.
The Urus is still holding strong at 9% appreciation in year 1. Now, years 2 and 3, obviously we're dropping a little bit. We're down about 13.5%. But as SUVs go, Lamborghini has nailed it.
They really have. There's over 20,000 Uruses sold. The residuals have always been extremely strong. They're very hard to get hold of.
The front end's very, very lovely, but I would never, ever, ever own one.
Despite being, ladies and gentlemen, Essex.
Essex.
Lest we forget, this is the best super SUV that money can buy. Lamborghini nailed it first time. It is an awesome performance machine. You can also now, of course, get the Performante version because, of course,
incredible.
the one thing we all wanted from the Urus was more speed.
So an Urus accounts for about 60% of Lamborghini sales these days. There's an 18-month waiting list to get yourself one of these cars.
Yep.
Number 14 brings us to an old friend. Car that we have driven, a car that we both really quite liked.
Yeah.
The Rolls-Royce Cullinan.
Now, this was a car that everyone thought was going to plummet. Like, as soon as you're talking about over 400 grand, and everyone thought they'd be worth, what, 200 grand after a year, and you could probably pick one by now for about 50. But no.
But no, that has not been the case at all. The Cullinan is maintaining an 8% year 1 increase, and only, I say only, but only a 24% decrease in years 2 and 3. Now that means that you're actually only losing 4% over the VAT that you had to pay on it. That is still massive, massive value.
Especially on such an expensive car. Remember, this is twice the price of an Urus, and yet really we're still in appreciation and fairly modest depreciation after that. I mean, it's absolutely incredible, and it's all down to huge demand for this vehicle, despite the fact if you buy it in black, it looks a little bit like a London taxi.
A lot. It just looks like a London taxi.
A lot like that.
So this lack of supply, huge demand, especially from Arab countries, which we guaranteed was going to be the place. And we actually said in our video, China as well, was going to be somewhere else that we're going to absolutely lap this car up. Creates a residual value Everest.
And if you want any more evidence of the Cullinan's current success, the cheapest 4-year-old Cullinan that you can buy is still £280,000.
That is a large chunk of change.
Yeah, and that's why I haven't bought one.
No, hell no.
And now we're into Porsche territory. And to be honest, we were going to feature the Porsche Cayenne Turbo GT, which is the very latest performance SUV. But to be honest, it's such a new model that we didn't have any real depreciation numbers long term. It's currently depreciation proof at just under 9% appreciation in the first year, but that's because it's the new super sexy model. So instead, we're going to focus on number 13, the Porsche Cayenne GTS.
Now, very popular model this. 1 year residuals, still pretty good. You're not making money on this car, but but you're not really losing a lot of money. We're about -2% over year one. Fast, reliable, comfortable, well engineered, blah, 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 blah. Q5.
It's a Porsche.
Options typically go to 20 to 30 grand, so that's quite a lot of option price there. You're adding on lots of things that you would ordinarily expect at this kind of value were going to be included.
Yeah, but as is Porsche's way, they make you choose everything on top. So you've got lots of options to choose, but they're not super expensive options. And also, when you look at the car itself, year two, you get about a 22% drop in value, which when you consider it's a luxury SUV, it's not too bad, but it's the Porsche brand value and equity which is holding high.
Now, this is a car that, frankly, is one of the worst designs in the world. This is the BMW X7 M60 that's had more lumps and bumps on it. Honestly, it looks like it's got boils all over it. The thing is vile, not a great car. However, it's brand new, and the people that like them really like them.
And it's fast.
And it's very fast, and it's very comfortable, and all of those lovely things. So you're actually only going to lose about 6% in year one. This is such a new car that we don't have year 2 and 3 figures for it. However, the outgoing model, which is the M50, at about year 2 and 3 is losing 30%. From what a car that neither of us would even consider pissing on if it was on fire.
At number 11, we've got the mighty Range Rover, the autobiography model. This, of course, one of the all-time greats. It's the one that many people choose, myself included. And at the moment, we're showing a fairly modest 6% decline. You would expect a much larger depreciation for a luxury SUV like this, and normally that's exactly how it would be. So for example, in years 2 to 3 on a Range Rover, it's 54%, which isn't very good news, but bear in mind the Range Rover has just had a new facelift, a new model, so you've got a lot more tech in there, completely different design. Not completely different, obviously.
Not completely different.
Slightly changed design. So that is causing a pretty good depreciation level to start with.
Okay, now, in at number 10, this is one of my very favourite cars. I've been told I'm not allowed to own one, but I would absolutely love to have one of these. This is a Rolls-Royce Ghost.
Yes.
The Phantom's smaller, younger brother, better proportioned, not quite as opulent, still magnificent.
Yep.
Feels like a real gangster's car. It's got that Mark II Jag feel about it. It's absolutely spot on.
Yeah, this is awesome, isn't it?
It is awesome, yeah. And you're only losing 11% in the first year, which, it's not brilliant, but it's not too bad. However, why don't you tell us about the story for years 2 to 3?
Yeah, years 2 to 3, not so pretty. We're currently showing that a Ghost, a typical Ghost with not huge miles on, will drop around about 55%.
Good Lord. That's a serious amount of money considering how much that car is brand new.
Yeah, it's definitely a good used buy, this one.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And it also highlights on this list, we've got a mixture really of performance SUVs and luxury saloons. And this is really where we're starting to enter saloon territory. And in the interests of fairness, at number 9, we're trying to cover as many of the luxury brands as possible, make sure that we've got as many in the list as we can, manufacturer-wise. So we've got the Audi A8, and this is the A8L, so it's a proper full-on luxury saloon up against the BMW 7 Series. It's been like that for many, many years, so this one was particularly interesting to look at because we all assume that big Audis, big expensive Audi saloons are going to lose a lot of money, and you know what? Yes, they are.
Yeah. Yeah, that does follow. Form follows function.
Yep.
They literally lose money like you wouldn't believe. So 17% in year 1, that's quite tasty. Years 2 to 3, 61%.
Wow.
61%. That is crazy amounts of depreciation.
I think it also reflects the fact that saloons very much out of favour, really. Everyone's after the SUVs and the performance SUVs. That's the hot product that everyone's going for. Saloons tend to get left behind. This one would have been a lot more desirable 10 years ago, but now really no one wants a big engined saloon.
No, absolutely. And the options are very, very, very vast. Easily do 20k on options without even trying. And there's so many in the market at the moment and so much competition. These are the standard swanning around chauffeur-driven cars. They do 150,000 miles on motorways, taking people to airports. They get off in 2 years' time. Values off a cliff.
Exactly. And if we're being honest, who on earth dreams about having an Audi A8L? And at number 8, we've got the mighty glistening chrome behemoth that is the Bentley Flying Spur. So this is the full-on saloon version of the Continental. It is opulent. It's got a W12 engine, but unfortunately, because of all those things, it loses 19% in year 1 and 40% in years 2 to 3.
This is still losing quite a substantial, especially when you consider that your options list could touch £100,000.
Yeah. I mean, it is the ultimate gentleman's intercontinental express, and yeah, as you'd expect, it gets hit quite a lot in the depreciation stakes.
They don't make a huge number of these things, but that doesn't do anything to hold the values up.
In an increasingly ecological world, a Bentley Flying Spur flies a little bit too much in the face of all that planet saving.
How dare you!
Now, we're sticking with Bentley for this one. This is the standard car, the baby of the range, if you like, the Continental GT. We drove one, so look back at our past videos. It's a bit of a jeweled codpiece of a car, but it's still, the values aren't that bad. So year 1, you're losing 19%. Sounds bad, but VAT is at 20%, so you're still actually doing fairly well. Years 2 and 3, 44%. Yeah, we're getting tough now. This is quite bad. It's not as bad as I actually thought it was going to be. I thought we were going to be at 60 or 70% in years 2 and 3 for this car, but it's not that bad. There are 5 different versions of the GT, and there's quite a lot of them for sale.
Yeah, Bentley has tried to keep the Continental relevant. They've got lots of different versions. There's quite nice sort of trim packs for it, so I think that's helping to keep it perhaps a little bit more reasonable than you'd otherwise expect.
At number 6, we have our German friends Mercedes with the GLS.
The big luxury performance-y Mercedes SUV that isn't a G-Wagen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what do we think about these then?
I think it's going to drop like a stone.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. 23% in year 1. 23%! Now, okay, so although starting price is quite low, fairly reasonable, £85,000, but then you get stuck into the options. You're talking paint for £18,000, that's Ferrari levels.
That's right, yeah.
£14,000 for leather. The result of this means that the GLS is going to cost well over £110,000 once you've finished ticking all the options.
And we're getting to the juicy section now, the one that you've all been waiting for. Number 5 is the Rolls-Royce Phantom. Fairly predictable, you would have thought, because we are talking about an opulent, extravagant Rolls-Royce. You would expect such a vehicle to get hit with depreciation, and you would be right. 24% in year 1 and 36% in year 2 to 3.
How much is it going to cost me to buy a Rolls-Royce Phantom?
It's a lot. It's a lot.
So 24% on an 85 grand or 120 grand GLS.
Yes.
That's not good, but you know, it's probably not that bad.
No.
What are we talking about on a Rolls-Royce Phantom then?
Right, well, before options, a Phantom is, and there's no other way of saying this, £363,000. Before options. And don't forget, those options, they're not cheap, are they?
Oh no.
Oh no.
No, they're not.
You're easily into 6 figures for options on a Phantom. It's quite terrifying.
Yeah, you thought £14,000 for leather in your GLS was quite bad, but honestly, that pales into insignificance.
It gets bonkers. I mean, you are well over 450,000 for these cars, if not $500,000, if not 600,000 for some of them. It's just a different world. And admittedly, depreciation probably doesn't mean that much to the average Rolls-Royce Phantom owner.
No, which is the reason why it is as it is. However, to us, it's very, very interesting because we like to laugh at people that lose loads and loads of money. As do you, which is why you watch these videos. In at number 4, unsurprisingly really, we're back to the very large luxurious saloon, again used for airport runs all over the country, the BMW 7 Series. A wonderful, wonderful luxury saloon. And if you've ever had the pleasure of being taken anywhere in one of these cars, sitting in the back where the front passenger seat folds forward and the screen comes up, it is a wonderful experience. However, if you're the person that owns this car, that's not such a great experience.
I obviously love the 7 Series. I've loved it. I've got my E38. I love it. But if I'm being honest, all the ones after the E38 I find utterly hideous looking. The current one is probably one of the worst so far. Big engine 7 Series, they've always been big depreciators. They're synonymous with it, which does make them fantastic used buys. Now, this is the M750, and I'm afraid in the first year alone, you're going to lose 32%.
Ouch.
Boom!
That really hurts.
Yeah, that's a big one. And
That's
if
a big one.
and in years 2 and 3, oh, it gets worse, my friends. 60%.
Holy Mother of Lord Jesus Christ.
And this is only number 4 on the list, so imagine what's coming up soon.
But what it does mean, though, is if you're in the market for taking up a new career as a chauffeur, you can pick yourself up an incredibly cheap 7 Series to do that job in that's only 3 years old.
Very true.
Are these the ultimate driving machines anymore?
I mean, I don't think so. I'm a bit worried about BMW, to be honest, because
Yeah.
so many of the cars are so ugly and they drive okay, but really they're just not, it's not the standard it used to be.
No, not by any stretch of the imagination.
And in at number 3, and I don't think there can be any surprises here, is the Bentley Bentayga. Now this is, of course, the king of gaudy luxury SUV gin palaces.
Oh, good Lord. Some of my best friends are Bentaygas.
Are they? Eye-watering option costs can double the value of the car, double it.
Double it.
And when it comes to depreciation, we're talking 33% in year 1. I am not surprised at all. I mean, come on.
No.
Does anyone want a Bentley Bentayga? Do you dream of that?
Well, some people clearly do, because otherwise they wouldn't lose so much bloody money, would they? Some people have saved up their entire lives to buy themselves a Bentayga, and then next week they found themselves on the dole queue because it lost so much money. So come on, hit me with it. 33% in year 1.
Yeah.
What's 2 and 3 looking like? How bad is it?
Okay, I mean, it's pretty bad.
Is it?
Yeah, it's not looking good.
Oh.
You know, like when there's like a nuclear explosion and a mushroom cloud and then all the buildings get destroyed and everything's irradiated and you spend ages dying afterwards.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's like this.
That's pretty much this, is it?
62% depreciation.
Wow.
62. Yeah. Very big, very gaudy, very heavy, not particularly sporty, just no, honestly, just no.
60% depreciation on a 20 grand car, right? That's not that bad, is it? I'll be quite, it's bad, but whatever.
Yeah.
What are we talking about for a fairly well spec'd Bentayga? 100 grand, right? Maximum. Can't be any more than that. Surely it's a 120? 50.
£280,000.
Shut your face.
Call it 300 and change for a Bentley Bentayga. That's with all the options. I mean, it's absolutely mind-blowing who would pay that for this car. Honestly, it's the perfect storm of depreciation. Lots of supply, loads of competitors, exorbitant costs, lack of excitement, high running costs. Honestly, who wants one of these?
Well, clearly no one now. At that kind of depreciation. So what you're telling me is that a 3-year-old Bentayga that probably cost someone £300,000, I can pick up for just over 100.
Yeah.
So we're in at number 2.
Yep.
This is a bit of a surprise to me. I wasn't expecting this at all.
I know what you mean, but it is one of those forgotten models because, I don't know anyone who's got one of these. Yeah. I almost got one for you for that challenge drive to Portugal. Yeah. That's only because they were so flipping cheap.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
and we're just about to find out why they were so flipping cheap.
Yeah, and it's a kind of weird in-betweeny thing that no one really asked for, but yet it's still there.
So this is the Porsche Panamera Turbo S, and I want to put caution here. When we say Turbo S, we are actually talking about a turbocharged petrol engine, not an electric car with a Turbo S non-cluncher on it.
Correct.
Okay, so this gives us a purely heady figure of 33% depreciation in the first year.
Yeah.
And in years 2 and 3, you're losing half the value of your car. Half the value. That's quite a lot of money.
Well, it definitely is when you consider that the base level Panamera that you can buy is 72 grand, which
Fairly reasonable.
for a Porsche Super Saloon,
Four-seater.
pretty good.
Good value.
Plus some options maybe, but the Turbo S, well, that's double that.
£140,000 we're at now.
Yep.
Then we're adding options to it as well.
Oh, yes.
Probably another 40 to 50 grand, I'm going to guess, because we know how Porsche love an option.
They do, and the options costs on Panameras are particularly high.
We're on a fat end of £200,000, and after in year two, you're looking at picking one up for 100 grand.
Exactly.
Nice.
Or not so nice.
If you were the one that bought it in the first place.
And here we are at number one, the worst depreciating luxury car according to our survey. And it is the Tyrannosaurus Rex of depreciation. It's probably the one that you can guess. It's another uber luxury fast saloon. It's another German saloon. And it is, of course, the S-Class Mercedes.
This is an icon of its type.
Yep.
Everybody refers back to the S-Class when you're talking about the best luxury saloon that money can buy. Everyone goes, it's an S-Class. However, with that comes some issues. It is, again, like the A8 and the 7 Series, a very, very large engined, very large luxury saloon car. And as we know, and we've said before, they literally crap money. Year one, 37.5% drop.
Yeah.
And this is not a cheap car. This is not one of your 20 grand Yaris's out there. And this is at least £220,000 plus options for the top of the line Maybach.
Exactly. Even the lower model, the S580, is 173,000.
You spent your 13 grand on your paint. You put your Napa leather in for £28,000.
It's all about the Napa leather.
About the Napa. You're looking at year 2 and 3. Surely it can't be that bad. I've already lost 37% on my car. I've only spent 200 grand on it. It's already dropped to shitloads. It can't get any worse than that, can it?
Yes, it can.
Oh my God, can it? Years in 2 and 3.
60%.
Holy mother. That is ridiculous.
Which is how, ladies and gentlemen, I am able to own an S600 Maybach. And I've just realised something as well. Looking at this list, I think I own 3 of the cars on this list.
Yeah, amazing.
I've got the BMW 7 Series.
Yeah.
I've got the S600 Maybach and the Rolls-Royce Phantom.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. But luckily, you bought them all second-hand.
Yes, exactly.
And not brand new.
Ding, 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 ding. So what have we learned? Well, not all luxury cars lose money straight away.
I did not expect that. If you're talking about certain trendy or brand new performance models, like the perennial G-Wagen or the mighty Urus, getting hold of one of them means you can beat the initial depreciation trap.
And I would have bet big time that the value of the Rolls-Royce Cullinan would have dropped like a grand piano heaved out of the Burj Khalifa.
But at the pointy end of depreciation, some familiar models reign supreme. Mercedes S600, Bentley Bentayga and BMW 7 Series. None of those cars were any surprise to me because we all knew that they were going to be absolutely at the top of the list. What did surprise me was at the bottom of the list, cars like this actually can appreciate. Now, whether that's to do with you can't get hold of them, people want them, all of that kind of stuff, it doesn't really matter. If you're lucky enough to get on the list, you know that your money is safe and secure.
So the big lesson, I guess, from this analysis and from this episode is if you're buying a brand new luxury SUV or saloon, make sure the company buys it and then buy it used. So if you can possibly get it, there are some incredible bargains for luxury SUVs and saloons on the second-hand market. After years 2 and 3, you can pick up cars that were north of 200 grand with every option ticked, and you can now pick those up for considerably less.
Amazing.
Well, there we have it. That is the fastest depreciating luxury saloons and SUVs. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Hope you found it useful and interesting.
We thoroughly enjoyed analysing the data on these cars, picking them out of the list, and I hope you did too. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, ding the notification bell for when we have another film uploaded. Find us on all of the social medias, and don't forget to buy the merch.
You have stolen my dreams and my childhood.
And there'll be another Car Guys episode next week.